Oh, jeez, man. If you're not going to do a full erection, then you shouldn't have an erection at all, okay? Let's talk about it.
Now get ready. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ryan Ride Mechanic channel. How the heck are you doing today? Alright, today's video got another breakdown video of an amusement ride, a portable amusement ride, the infamous zipper ride having a malfunction. Now let's go into this a little bit here. I've got some notes here. Friday night, 26th of September, 2025. The zipper malfunctioned Friday night at a school carnival in the Pico-Union area, leaving several riders trapped inside. This was at Our Lady of Loretto High School in Pico-Union area around 9 p.m. The ride, commonly known as a zipper, stopped mid-ride, fell apart basically with people inside of it. No injuries were reported at the time. The school was hosting a family fun day, the event with carnival rides, food, fun, music, petting zoo, the whole thing. A little background on the ride itself. The zipper ride was actually invented in 1968 by Joe Brown and as part of Chance Rides. As of 2019, total of 222 zippers are out there. Rides 56 feet high, total weight of 43,000 pounds. Looks like the ride was not properly assembled. So let's get into the video here. Okay, I'm going to start out here. We're going to look at this. So the first thing that I noticed is that the zipper rides come with 12 cabs on them. So if we count here at the very first frame, sorry, my banner bar is in the way. This is off of the Instagram Sylvester. This is from theirs originally, but it's made its way around everything. So what I'm going to do is we're going to count here. Starting at top, we're going to go... I'm going to start here. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There should be 12. Should be 12 of these cabs here. So this happens really quick. So I might play it a couple of times for you here. So watch this cab right here that's in the center of the screen essentially. Okay. That's pretty much all there is to this video. Now, keep in mind, because this person started recording, that there was something that happened before this event. So we need to look at that a little bit. So if you watch this come down, it looks like that cab just folds out, and from what we can tell, that there's nobody in this cab. There's no one inside that cab, so no one was really hurt in there. I'm not sure if the one it crashed into was loaded or not, but it doesn't look like there's anybody inside that cab either. Alright, so what do we know? These things are held on to the zipper basically with a structure that's built once it comes off the trailer. If you look at these little coaches right here, you can see it's got like a vertical bar holding it out, and then this other bar alongside. Basically that forms like a K structure. In fact, here's a snippet of that K structure right here basically. You can see the rails would be coming along vertically right here, and basically the arm folds out to hold the cab out there on the side, which connects with this vertical bar right here, and another set of arms. Now the horizontals basically have axles across there, which have an assembly that's essentially like a roller coaster wheel carrier. It basically has guide wheels, it's got road wheels, and it's got upstop wheels to carry the weight as the entire assembly is pulled via a wire rope around the track. So if you look at the construction of this, you see how this bar is holding the cab out here. Well, this particular cab isn't linked in this picture for this. This is off a service bulletin. It's not linked in this picture, but this goes out and holds a cab here. This other bar comes out and holds a cab up there. They're held together in pairs, and the entire assembly is clamped onto the wire rope essentially as it goes around. If we go back to our video, in this video, we can actually look here and see, if we look at this, here is those K-bars right here. See, there's one coming out, it's holding this cab. This other one's coming out straight, holding this cab. And then it's got the triangular and the large vertical support inside of that. They are clamped on to the cable, which goes around the big turning drum up there to spin the whole assembly around. The entire structure rotates at the same time. Hydraulic driven, and then up here the cables are driven around by this tire right here. So if you look at them, they're in pairs. These two are paired together up on top. These two. Behind this banner, there's two down here and two over here. So if you look at this one, the other one's missing. So it's like, where did the second one go? It's like, they must have removed it. Okay, so what happened? What's going on here? Well, let's look at the video and play it. All right. See, right as it's coming down, kind of go back and forth just to watch it a little bit. But you see the way those bars protrude right there? By that, I mean right here, those bars are coming straight out. What that tells me is that this cab is actually the top cab. See, because as it sits right there, when it comes down, that cab is going to essentially link with the cab that's underneath it. In this case, it's not, there's nothing underneath it. So I originally was just like, well, they didn't put the second cab in there for some reason. It's a little more complex than that, though, if we look at it. So we'll start at the very beginning right here, the first clear shot. And see, here's the horizontal axles that go across, and they basically bridge the gap. This is what's riding along on the track, and this is what the whole thing is held together and is rotating by as well. So if you look at it, this horizontal axle is right next to this horizontal axle. There's basically not much space in there between that two. If you look at the one next to it right over here, this axle is roughly in line here, but then this top axle is not in line here. So what I'm thinking is that this vehicle was, for some reason, not being used. It was stored off to the side for some reason, because as I can tell, these things can't be put in and taken off like at one-offs. The whole thing has to be put together in order to operate. So basically, this guy was sitting here and has slid down. Now, when it slid down, everything came loose. I'm imagining it had some sort of a binding up here that was keeping it in the track assembly and preventing it from coming out to start with. So there's some sort of a bind that finally released itself, and it's just let go. This guy slid down, impacted the bottom, and that is when it fell out. Like that. Now, there's something that started this event off, not sure what it was, but I imagine it was actually this cab right here, which should have been up. Judging by this, looks like it should have been about 4 or 5 feet further up, right around here. And then basically, I think what happened was that as this was going along, the clamps loosened up, and this cab that was 4 or 5 feet higher suddenly slid down and hit the bottom. When it slid and hit the bottom axle, that basically jarred whatever was holding it up on top loose, and then suddenly allowed this thing to free spin and come back down. Now, this doesn't look like it was an evening time festival. It was an evening time event, so I doubt this was the first cycle of the day. It wasn't the first run of the day. It's probably been running all day with that vehicle stowed basically in this position, the way it sits right now. It was basically sitting like this the entire time. They might have had these other K-bars up and over, but without a vehicle connected to it, They might have had the assembly there with just the vehicle gone, but with the vehicle not there, it might not have worked. Like, think about a Connect set, right? You have this big Connect set sitting there and all these parts and pieces to it. When you take one piece out of it, the whole thing becomes really wiggly and unstable, and it can easily just fall apart. I basically think that's what happened here. Basically, they tried to assemble part of it, and then there was a lot of work going on with this. Where that other vehicle is, we don't know. It's not here in this video. And then basically what happens is, as it was going along, it basically just, whatever the connection was, finally finagled apart. I see these bars sticking down right here. This leads me I'm kind of thinking like they tried to somewhat assemble this to try to keep it in place, and basically it fell apart. These things should be able to work just fine without those K-rails assembled. Granted, it would start doing this where the vehicle slapped in and out like that. But I think what's going on here was that someone was also working on this guy and maybe has loosened the clamps, or maybe the clamps just can't hold without the other one perfectly in place. And so they slid down, basically. So if we watch this video fully, you can see it's just hanging out there, and then when it comes down here towards the bottom, it falls down the rest of the way.
In the Pico-Union neighborhood, you can see some of the carriages nearly fully detaching, falling and slamming into one another.
Now it looks like this cab is, it looks like it's empty. Can't really see it that well.
Zipper. One witness commented some of the riders were
I kind of see it might be a shadow of a person in there. I can't really tell if there's somebody inside there or not. The nice part about these things is that you're fully caged in, and the impact wouldn't really affect you. It'd be loud, it'd be noisy, it'd be scary, but the impact won't really affect the people on the inside if there is somebody inside of there. They said there was no injuries on this, so that's a good thing, because this one was obviously having some sort of a problem there from the get-go of the day, so they weren't loading that one. I took some time and went through all the service bulletins for the Zipper. The thing's been in production since 1968, so there's a ton of them out there, right? So I went through all the service bulletins and looked through everything. I could not find anything specifically about not running all the cabs on there, not disconnecting one. So I'm going to have to assume, I know it's a bad thing, I'm going to have to assume that the thing is in the manual. Now, I could not find a manual for this ride online. Not quite surprising, but Chance doesn't put one online. So I actually did reach out to Chance to see if they would simply answer my question about this. Wasn't trying to place blame or anything like that, nothing along those lines. I simply just asked the question of, hey, do you guys have an allowance? Do you have a way for a Zipper to run with 11 coaches, not 12? Like, you have a way to take one out of the assembly and still run the ride safely. I've worked on a couple of Chance rides myself. I have experience with them. Judging by that experience I have, plus all the service bulletins that I've read, like you could see the verbiage and everything that they do in there, they're not the type of company that just says, yeah, go ahead and not install part of the ride and just let it run. It's fine. Like, most manufacturers won't do that. The first step is like put the entire ride together. It's like, okay. And I think that's what we have here. I think they basically tried running the ride with part of it missing, and it fell apart the rest of the way. Due to impact, due to forces, maybe someone was working on it and the clamps and stuff loosened up and it slid down. That part, still not quite sure on at all. But I really feel like this was simply just, they tried running it with 11 instead of 12 because there was a problem. The fact that they were already working in that area leads me to highly question whether or not the U-bolts and stuff around those cables were actually tight, like really tight like they should have been, or if maybe they had already been trying to move stuff and undo things and they simply just didn't put it back together quite right. And ended up with this assembly. Now, not great for the traveling circuits. It's not a good thing because it doesn't look good. Amusement rides in general, every time something like this happens, amusement parks in general, whether it be a traveling show or all the way up to a full, like a Disney, a Six Flags, a Universal, something like that, everyone gets a black eye in this because the general public only sees this. They only see this accident and they immediately place that this is unsafe times every single amusement ride out there. So it's really hard anytime there's one of these accidents to actually make a good recovery from it because there's typically not good visibility on these things, and it's typically someone does something shady to start with. Bigger parks, corporations, companies won't allow that sort of stuff, but smaller operators tend to do things like this. Bad to say, I know. I talked with a state inspector one time. I've said this story many times. I went out to look at a full-size roller coaster at a traveling fair. Full-size roller coaster, 60, 70 feet high, and it's a really big roller coaster. Went out there and looks at it and says, something's off. Go get the manual. The guy brings the manual back, and he holds the manual up, and on the manual there's a picture of the ride. And he looks at the picture of the ride and looks at the roller coaster, and he goes, where's all these supports that are supposed to be holding the top up? And the guy says, we don't have them. Where are they? And he says, I don't know. He's like, well, you can't operate this ride until you put all the supports in the ride. And the guy's like, we don't even know where they are. We misplaced them like 3 towns ago. And the state inspector had to be like, well, the ride's not going to operate until you put all the supports for the rides together on this thing. These are conversations that most people just like, this is just a mind-blowing thing. But that operator had already been running that roller coaster in multiple other cities, states, whatever it might have been, before they finally found out, like, hey, you're missing a whole bunch of supports that hold the track and structure together. Anyone else think this is a problem? I think it's a problem. So this is what happens essentially when you try to take part of the zipper apart and then run it the rest of the way. Not great. I'm really sure if Chance ever gets back to me, if they do, I only gave him a day because I wanted to do this video. But I'm really sure that Chance probably would not condone with whatever is happening here. Typically, ride manufacturers do not allow their rides to be operated in anything less than a perfect condition. But doesn't mean that operators can't. It just means that the ride manufacturer says not to. Most of us would think that would be good enough. Anyways, what do you think? Anyone have a experience with the zipper to say, what do you think? Did that cab actually slide down? I think they had it tied up inside of there so it wouldn't be operating. They might have been using the other side of it, though, and tried to pin the two together with no cab between it. That's a tough one to say. Anyways, like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff downstairs. It does help me out. I do appreciate it. And hopefully I won't be doing too many of these. I know as I make this video, someone has already sent me a video of another amusement ride accident. That one's much more of a mystery. It's another traveling ride, though. Like, oh my gosh. No good at all. Okay. Gone on too long about this. Sorry. I'm Ryan the Ride Mechanic. Stay off the air gates.